Hey, welcome everybody to podcast number 126. I was in a panic there for a second. I was like, what podcast number is this? We're getting high in the numbers here.
Well, while you were trying to figure that out, you had the wrong person in the room, so I fixed that for you too. So we're
Thank
good.
you very much.
I think he's frozen now too, isn't he?
Oh no, he's back.
Could
Okay,
be-
we're good. We're
Could
good.
be bad internet. Bad internet.
Early out.
So obviously, I'm your host, Kerry Kreitz. 5-Pin Universe is bringing this podcast to you. We have the Wiseman twins, Dexter and Tim, and Daryl Bradley. Welcome, guys. Thanks for
Hey,
joining
buddy.
again
What's going
another
on, buddy?
week and going through this. We're going to get our guest on here right away quick, so we're going to run through our little spiel. You can become a patron of 5-Pin Universe for as little as $2 a month at patreon.com/5pinuniverse. And help us bring these podcasts to you every week or every second week, however we can get it to you. And then once again, thanks again to All Star Bowling Sales being our sponsor of the week. And we're going to run their quick commercial and we'll bring in the podcast guest. All right. So our podcast guest this week has bowled pretty much everywhere you can pretty much bowl. Is that kind of where we're going with the gist with this? He is yeah, he's been a member of the Edmonton group. These guys know him fairly well. We have Mr. Perry Gillam. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Hey Perry.
Happy to have you, man.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good. It's
Oh,
good
you know,
to
you
chat
really
with
made it in bowling when you get to appear in your podcast, right? So I must have, although 126, I have to, a little bit down the list a bit, but thanks for having me.
It
Appreciate
was
it.
all fluffers before, all fluffers.
Absolutely.
To the booking agent on that one, right, Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess if I had a manager, I'd be able to improve that stat, but I don't have one, so that's what you get, right?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
We've had Mitch Davies on like 19 times now, so we could have at least had Perry up there a little bit earlier, maybe.
Oh, I didn't need to hear that part. That does make me feel very good there.
Well, we're glad
I'm
to have
happy
you
to
on
be
now,
here.
Perry.
Happy to be here. Thanks. I'm honored for you inviting me. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So Perry, where did bowling start for you?
Ooh, good question. Of course, folks who know me, I'm a Newfoundlander. 9 years old, I started bowling, and my oldest brother kind of introduced me into 5-pin bowling. And that was in a YBC program, right? That Youth Bowling Council program. So it got me in there 9 years old. He was kind of my coach, mentor. He was a bowling enthusiast, even though we had a sort of a bowling family of like 6 brothers. I come from a fairly large family, 6 brothers and 3 sisters. All the boys were into the bowling. But he was the sort of leader, the enthusiast, the big brother, right? Got me into bowling at 9 years old. And back then, bowling was pretty big. Like it was, we had a 6-lane house, but it seemed to be full. At least my memory seemed to think that it was full.
Well, because just your whole family went there, that's why. And then
Yeah, that's right. We took up 1 lane for sure.
You had 10 kids in your family?
Yeah, 10 kids, 6 boys, 7 boys, and 3 girls.
Where did you fall in the whole group?
The last boy, the youngest of all the boys. So I have I have a younger sister, but for the most part, all my siblings are older.
Crazy.
Wow. There's a new stat for us, hey? Who has been the podcast guest that had the most siblings?
Perry's definitely winning that one.
Yeah,
Perry's
I guess-
got the win. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I haven't met anyone that. I've met a couple of people with 2 or 3 brothers, right? Bowling together, but not to the extent of having 7 boys on the same bowling team. I remember it was in YBC and the seniors, and we had a team in the men's league on Sunday nights, and and we can only bowl 6, right? So we had 7. So the low man always stayed out, right? Whoever played the lowest the week prior stayed home next week, and we kept doing that through year after year, and we always did pretty well. We usually either won. I don't remember actually ever losing um, the league.
That's
But
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, no, it was awesome. Looking back now, right where I am sitting in my chair today, looking back, like that was a pretty special time to do that.
Absolutely.
All 7 brothers playing on a team, and then every week they were the lowest guy. You're out for next week.
Yeah, I mean, we
Oh,
weren't
good
like big
idea.
averages. I think my oldest brother, he was a 250 bowler. I mean, that was pretty good. Like that was pretty elite, I thought,
Yeah.
back in those days when I was like 13, 18 years old. That was pretty good, but pretty consistent. We had a pretty strong team, and we usually fared pretty well.
That's awesome.
So I was talking to, like I mentioned to you earlier, well, one of our fellow senior bowlers is from the same town as you are in Newfoundland, and he was in yesterday. And he was telling me a little bit about it, and he mentioned that your bowling center was in a rec center, and it was on top of the rec, like second level or whatnot. Yeah, that would have been kind of cool. But the town that you're in, how many people actually were living there at that time?
Well, at the peak of that time when I was living in Newfoundland, I think we had up to about 7,500 people within the town. But unfortunately, with uh, closure of the fishery, closure of some major employers, I think we maybe 4,500 now in the
Yeah.
town. And you mentioned Tim, sorry, yeah, Tim, about the lanes. We used to have a 6-lane house on top of a hockey arena.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think in the 90s, it burnt down.
Yeah.
The ground. So for a while, there were a few years they lost the arena, they lost the bowling alley, lost all of those. Now they did rebuild it, and they put again another 6-lane house in there. But I think by that time bowling has kind of fell off, right? With the loss of that facility for so long, that it kind of fell off a bit, right? Even when I go home today and we go and throw a few games, my brother and I, that it's just not a lot of people there, and unfortunately, it's just not there anymore.
Fair.
And
Yeah,
bowling's
tough.
kind of I mean, it's part of the big reason why we've pushed so hard on this podcast and stuff like that too. Is bowling needs to stay front of mind for people because there isn't a lot of media out there for it besides basically what we've been doing. So if you don't keep it front of mind and it disappears for a couple of years, people's interests change. You have to make sure it stays there front and center for people.
Well, and hopefully
Yeah,
all these
what you
small
guys-
towns, they all survive. They're little 6-lane centers, the little 8-lane centers. That's the one that they need the communities to rally behind. Whether you're 4,500 or 7,500 or 75,000, right? If you're supporting your little centers, then they'll be able to stay in business, and it becomes a community recreation, cultural built bonding place for the community. That's what they got to treat it as.
Yeah, and you know yourself. I mean, like I look at Dexter guys. Like I mean, bowling comes from your family, right? And your parents probably got you into the sport, right? Where they were proprietors and introduced you to the sport, and which got you involved in the sport thing. I was the same thing. My family, my older brother bought me into the game, so I think, it's those mom, dad, brothers, and sisters bringing their younger siblings or family or friend members into the game, which is a big proponent of the game and keeping it alive, right? And there's smaller communities where I'm from, and that's exactly what it was, right? It was the parents, it was the older friends or family that brought the young kids into the program, which was grassroots, right? YBC program is a grassroots program that
Yeah.
it has to be strong, right? If you want to grow any program, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Crazy.
So when did you start getting into a little bit of competitive side of things? As a youth, was there starting to be 4 steps tournaments, or did you start as a peewee, bantam, junior? When did you start getting a little bit more competitive on that side of things?
Yeah, no, great question. I think the first success I had, I remember my memory goes back, is in 1980. Competed as I was 13 years old. Competed in the singles division for the 4 steps to start on the YBC program. I happened to win the zone, go on to represent the zone in provincials, where I competed against the bigger centers. Mind you, we're a small center, with very few bowlers. But I mean, we had about 50 or so in the YBC program, which is pretty decent for that size of a community.
Yeah.
And going into the youth centers like St. John's and Cornbrook, where there are hundreds of thousands of people in population, and competing against those and be able to win was a huge boost for me. And so for there, I went on to represent Newfoundland in the nationals, and that was in London, Ontario. I still remember these things. They're so vivid. London, Ontario. The name of the facility was 40 lanes, huge, monstrous house. It was incredible to see that many people. And going into the YBC program, the opening ceremony is right where they pipe you in, you walk down the lanes, and it's just a huge, huge, huge deal, right? For that week, and something I've never seen before. It was an incredible experience for me to go ahead and do that, represent Newfoundland in that junior boys division, right, singles. And that week, I think the format in YBC, I don't know if it's still the same or not, but you bowl each province or territory twice in the same set. It's a 2-game set.
Yeah.
And I remember not ever losing 2 games. So that was a very fortunate that probably helped me to go ahead and win that tournament. I've never really gave up 2 games. I've taken 2 games from my competitors, but I've never given up 2. So that was huge to be able to win that. So I went on to win that tournament. And so that was the big, the sort of bite that got me hooked into 5-pin bowling, right? And going in, and after winning that tournament and going into the closing ceremony, which was in a huge theater, it was just a massive, seemed like all kinds of kids were there, right? It was huge theaters, closing ceremonies, and when you call up on the stage and receive your medal, and they played Queen, We Are the Champion, of course, right? Which sends chills in your spine still today, right?
That song must have just came out, right?
Yeah, a week before. Yeah. Yeah. So that was huge to win that. I mean, I got bitten by the bug there, right there and then, right? To have that experience, right? To have the experience at 13 years old, and even coming home, to that day, flying back to Newfoundland from Ontario. Good old Air Canada let you down again and lost my luggage. First trip ever. First trip ever, and Air Canada lose your luggage on the way home, right? I would didn't know what that would follow you around.
As a 13-year-old, yeah.
Yeah, as a 13-year-old, yeah. And
But
so
what
come
an
back
amazing
home.
national experience, like.
What's that? Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, amazing national experience. Your first time going to nationals, winning it all as a 13-year-old, as a Newfoundlander coming in here. I mean, it would have been blown away. That's awesome.
It was. They got bitten by the bug, right? And I remember even coming home on that flight, and it was about 3-hour drive from the airport to my hometown, and we ended up getting close to the town, and there was like all kinds of cars lined up, and it was like a big, huge parade for us as we got back to the town, right? Because it was a big celebration. It was the first time that kind of anyone in did this kind of stuff, right? So it was pretty special for sure.
That's so cool.
Do you-
Watching like the
do you
whole
ever
community
remember-
rally around you. That's
Do you ever
awesome.
remember some of the players that would have been there at 1980? Like, anybody we would have known, or anybody that you grew up to play with later on that you would have like, hey, you were in the 1980 Nationals too? I didn't know that, but you know what I mean?
There was one individual, and his name was Daryl from British Columbia. I went on to see him several times in other tournaments, whether it's in the Open or other YBC tournaments. But for the most part, I remember having all kinds of pictures taken of each competitor. I would pose, and we would take pictures like a selfie today, right? Took a picture of each one, but I don't remember all the names. And but just one, and I remember his name was Daryl. He's from British Columbia.
So
Daryl Bailey.
Taylor and Mark Mador, those two were huge players back in the day.
Daryl Bailey, like who's just playing with us right now. That's
No.
the same.
No.
A different
Daryl
Daryl Bailey. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think his name was Daryl Bailey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We found the stats, Perry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really from
No, wait,
YBC?
you found the stats from the 1980 YBC Nationals?
They're all up there. Yeah.
Really?
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm so glad that
absolutely.
somebody's posted all those stats.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible. I went looking for some of those stuff, and I think you need special privileges to get in and see something. Right? You asked me to
I
recall.
Just need a young set of eyes. That's all, Perry.
Yeah.
Young set of eyes.
Absolutely.
I see
yeah.
Kathy was there, of course, not surprised, right? So she would probably know, list off a whole bunch of people that were there too.
Kathy was on the Bantam Girls that year. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So you won 13 and a half matches, and you second. Oh, who was second? Silver was Alberta, which was Don Snow, and third was Quebec.
Mark Mador.
Mark
Mark
Mador.
Mador. Yep.
Yeah.
I recognize that name for sure. Yeah,
Mark
13 and a half to 18, right?
Yeah.
Dex, is that right?
That's a good question.
I think it's 13 and a half out of 18, I believe.
Yeah, that's.
Out of 20. It would have been out of 20.
Oh, well, I guess
probably.
2 each, so 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Out of 22. Or, sorry, 20.
22.
It would have been 20.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't face yourself, so 20.
That's funny.
That's
So
awesome.
that was that was my first kind of big. I was bitten by the bowling bug after that, right? And I did go on and do represent Newfoundland again in 1985 when the Burnaby BC in the senior boys division this time, right? I think it was my last year actually in Newfoundland before I joined the military and left home. So it was the last year that I was eligible in the senior boys singles and went to Burnaby BC. Didn't do as well. I think I'm kind of missing. I think I placed like middle of the pack that year.
Wow, they got this one sideways. Don't mind me while I break my neck.
I'm just actually amazed you can pull the stats on that. I'm really surprised, but I think you're good.
Yeah, I'd
Is that
say
on Bowl
middle
Canada
of the pack.
website? Or it's on Bowl Canada. You start diving in somewhere.
Yeah,
You just search Bowl Canada previous results, and I'll get you right to the website.
Saskatchewan ran away with that year.
Neat.
Yeah,
Man.
it's a big step, obviously, in YBC. You're going from junior to senior. Just a huge step.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's
So
nice to
then
see
after,
Northwest Territories came in second.
Wow.
Jim White
Jim-
from Northwest
Jim-
Territories.
Jim White?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, another name I recognize.
That's
you
super
go.
neat.
But
so then after that 85, seniors run, then you joined the military. So then things start to slow down a little bit for you, or where did bowling take a break? Or how
Yeah,
did things go?
that's good question. That's that age, right? That's that age where you're sort of trying to find whether you want to be still going on with that sports, or 18, 19, right? And I joined the military, and all my new buddies, my new friends. Now I had 125 new friends that I didn't know the year previously. I mean, if they're not in the 5-pin bowling, if they're not in other things, you're not involved with it, right? So you kind of fall off the. Bowling wasn't cool, right? It wasn't the coolest thing to do. It was to run off and go bowling with your 18, 19-year-old buddies, or probably going partying or hanging out and having a good time, right? So, so a couple of years there was a bit of absence there until I sort of moved into town. I think my now wife lived together, and I think I took up bowling in Brandon and got back into that. Wanted to get back into the league in Brandon. We're there for a couple of years before. I was in the artillery when I first joined the military, and I remastered as a firefighter, and that meant another move to Poison Prairie. And again, that's where in Manitoba I really got back into my first opportunity actually to play the bowl in the open. Was in Poison Prairie, and so I got exposed to the Manitoba experience. I guess was my first outside of province, outside of Newfoundland, was my first experience of into the open, and getting to meet some really good people in Manitoba.
How was your first experience? How did you enjoy it?
It was good. I mean, it was really good. I try to think back because I was in Portage. It was I think it's called the Central Zone, and Winnipeg is the stronghold, right? Winnipeg has all the huge bowlers and competitors, right? They kind of blow you away. It's almost an unfair. It's almost like David and Goliath kind of a situation, right? Because Winnipeg has such strong bowlers and strong competitors. But I was in the Central Zone. I met a lot of good people. It was my first experience, so not knowing what to expect and being part of the mixed team there, it was good. It was good. I mean, I still have the friends that I made in those open tournaments, which was so cool about bowling in so many provinces, is that every time I went to the open, it was like reuniting with old friends, because I had friends from all these provinces that I either bowled with on a team with or bowled against, and it was almost like a homecoming, just to reunite those relationships and those friendships.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Now,
Did you have any success while out there?
No, not in Manitoba. I don't remember having a lot of success in Manitoba. And I mean, when I went to Portage, I was only there 2 years, right? And then I don't know if you remember or not, but the Canadian Forces closed a whole bunch of bases in around that 1990, 1992, and Portage was one of them. And therefore, that meant for us was another move. So in 1992, we moved there 1990 and moved up again in 1992. So it wasn't a lot of time to to be part of the open competition or any other competition for that matter. And we were off to Nova Scotia in 1990.
Did you enjoy that move to Nova Scotia? Was that a good move for you? Like, I mean, obviously it's not Newfoundland, but you're kind of getting back to your end of the world. And
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? East Coasters always want to go back east, and so which was good. I mean, that was great. And we had some really good friends back there, which is nice to get back into the community. So we knew people. One of my wife's best friends from school was there, and I had some friends from the military who got out and moved back there in Nova Scotia. So it was we had connection there when we got there, right? So it wasn't like we were going somewhere for the first time and didn't know us. So we did have that network kind of pre-built there. And going back to Nova Scotia was great. Nova Scotia is a beautiful province, obviously. We spent 8 years there, right? So it was, broke my heart to leave, to be honest with you. We really fit in well there. We had some good jobs. We had lots of good people in the community. And bowling was really good there. That's the thing about me. Being in bowling wherever you went, that was my introduction to the community. I was getting to go to the bowling alley and you meet people, right? Like I met you guys, and I moved to Alberta, right? That was my in. I was into all kinds of sports, whether it was basketball, ball hockey, and bowling. So first place I ran to when I had a free moment was off to the lanes and meet the proprietor and manager, introduce myself, and where's your leagues? How are they? When do they take place? And get in right away, right? That was my way in there, right?
yeah, absolutely. So bowling in Nova Scotia, different, eh?
Oh, it's huge. For one thing, bowling alleys, the 5-pin lanes are only on the bases, and there's only 3 in Nova Scotia. It's the Halifax, Dockard, or Shearwater, or in Greenwood. So outside of that, that was the only 5-pin available, of course, within the province. And other than that, they had another game called Candlepin. And that was the big game down in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia was Candlepin. Even down in eastern U.S., right? Went down to Maine and those areas, right? It was huge competition. I mean, it was televised back in the day, right? It was massive, big game. But 5-pin not as much, right? It was a lot of military folks or military spouses and family members and friends that were in 5-pin bowling, so it wasn't as strong, right? We didn't have a lot of bowlers not as strong, and that's good and bad. Good because if you're competitive and you want to bowl in TSN, CBC, in the Open, you don't have a lot of competition. Nothing against anyone that's watching from Nova Scotia, but that's just a numbers game. It's just a numbers game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so your opportunity is way up there, higher to make those teams and increase your opportunity to go and play in the CBC and play in TSN and play in the Open and play in those tournaments that if you were in Ontario or Alberta, I mean, it doesn't come, like your opportunities don't come every year to go and be able to do these things, right?
Right. Now, Perry, I know you haven't been in Nova Scotia, but there's only one in a while, but there's only one center now. All the rest of them closed except for Greenwood.
Oh, yeah. And when I was there, it was struggling. I mean, there was a 6-lane house on the naval base, and it was closing, but it was a friend of mine that volunteered to jump in and just run it because he didn't want to see it close. So he went in there. Even though he was working, he was still a military member in the Navy. And he had a sort of an organization arrangement worked out that he would come and run the lanes and spend a lot of time on the weekends and solicit anyone to go in there and help him to run the lanes just so that the house wouldn't close because it was a very, very, he was a strong proponent of the lanes there, right? Which is, yeah, but unfortunately, like everything, if you don't have someone come in and do those things, they close down. But it's unfortunate to hear that 2 of those houses that it's 3 are gone now.
Yeah,
absolutely. It seemed weird that in all of Nova Scotia that there's only one house left, right?
It is weird, yeah.
A couple of big towns, Halifax, and I mean, there's big towns. I mean, obviously it's expensive to build a new one or what you'd have to do with it, but it just seems sort of a lost opportunity, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when we were there, we had a lot of people who were proponents of trying to grow the game in Nova Scotia, right? But it was tough. It was like pulling teeth, right? Excuse me, because most of the folks who were there were, it was Candlepin was the big game, right? It was Candlestick was a big game, and that's where everybody went.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me that a place like.
I'm sorry.
Is there still Candlepin centers?
Tons, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there is.
I
Oh, okay.
I assume
Gotcha.
so. They are everywhere, and they're all over Atlantic Canada, right? I don't know if you ever played Candlestick, or Candlepin, but it's a tough game, right? It's a tough game. Like even, I think they've had. Don't quote me on this, but I don't think there's ever perfect games ever been thrown in Candlepin.
No.
Um,
No.
I think if you throw Candlestick, if you have one or two strikes a game or three, like you're doing exceptionally well. It's all about trying to throw that spare, right? Because every ball is a different ball because they play the deadwood, right, in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But terrific bowlers because they have to be so accurate, right? So accurate in that game because there's no two shots that are alike. So you need to be able to play the angles when you're playing the deadwood so that you can throw pins in certain directions and spread them out to get them to do what you want it to do. So very accurate game, very
Yeah,
tough
it's like bowling and pool put together.
game. Yeah.
But
Yeah. Tough
So-
game, very tough.
apparently, like a good average for like a really good average for Candlepin's like 135, which tells you how hard it is.
It's a tough game.
Did you ever bowl in a league for Candlepin or anything like that, or no?
No, I went through a few games. I want to think now because my brother, of course, who introduced me to five-pin bowling, unfortunately, with the collapse of the railway in Newfoundland, and he worked for the railway. He had to move, and he moved to Moncton. So in Moncton, he got into Candlestick there, and I used to, when I go visit him, we used to go and throw a few games of Candlestick. I think I went out a couple of times and played. Might have been once in a league, but I wasn't part of the league. I think I just subbed in or something on one night when he was going and they were down a player. So I subbed in and just try not to embarrass myself, you know. For the most part, those guys are pretty good. They're very accurate.
Crazy.
Did you ever? So when you were subbing in or whatever, the ball is quite a bit smaller and quite a bit lighter, is it not? Did you ever give the old heave ho halfway down the lane, or?
Well, it's a huge adjustment, right? Imagine picking up a 5-pound ball and picking up a 3-pound ball and throwing it under it with the same intent. It just flies in your hand, right? And your timing is totally messed up because you used to have that weight to control your rhythm, control your timing. Is now it's way off, right? So that adjustment is not uncommon to pick up a ball and throw it and you wing it like it's halfway down the lane and it's going towards the gutter and you know where you're going to pin because of the weight. The weight transfer totally different, right? But you just everything you adjust.
It gets away from you. Yeah.
Adjust or you adjust or until you take your shoes off and go home, like one of the two. Yeah, no. My brother Charlie, yeah.
Yeah. So then, did you get playing again now? In Ottawa when you were living there, or obviously then back again into Edmonton. Some of the highlights then too, starting to play the open teams.
I'm sorry, I kind of. Daryl, repeat the question. It kind of broken up a little bit. Try to.
Yeah, just sort of your more open experience as you start going into Edmonton a little bit later on into 2004, 2007. Some of those experiences playing different zones and making teams.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, my first open experience in Manitoba, I think I only played once, and then I went to Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia only sent mixed teams singles, right? So I played in the open competitive, and again, like I said, because we didn't have the numbers or star power there, it was you had really high opportunity to make a team. So I was very fortunate to make several Nova Scotia mixed teams to go and represent, right? So again, that was more experience in that environment, especially a high pressure environment, right? Of the open, right? You're in the mix, but you're competing against a big team, especially guys at Quebec. Quebec was the same way. They only came to the open with mixed teams, and they're just super strong. They just roll you over if you were prepared, right? And so played on an open team in Nova Scotia for a few years. But the first 3 years in Nova Scotia, I spent in the Navy, and those 3 years, I think, combined total, I was gone a full year in the 3 years I spent with the Navy. So not a lot of time for bowling, right? So when you're not bowling, you're trying to in family time. And I think I did still play in a couple events, but they really got into that was from 92 to 90. Sorry, not 92 to 95 with the Navy. And 95 to 2000 I got posted over to the Air Force in Shearwater, and that's where I really spent. Was able to do a lot of competitive bowling on CBC TSN and the open experiences. And we left Nova Scotia in 2000, went to Ontario, Ottawa, Again, we only had 3 years there. I happened to play, I believe, one Open in Ottawa. But I was just in awe. But after leaving Nova Scotia and going to Ontario and playing in an Open competition, I was just in awe. I was a bit starstruck because it's such a massive event there, right? It's you just have to see it to believe it. And I don't know. You correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they had like 22 zones
Yeah.
when you went there. Right?
Yeah. At one point, it was 24. Yeah.
24 zones. I mean, it's wow. Like, and I heard this so many times when I was in Ontario that just to get out of the province was so tough, right? Just to win out of the province and win that provincial tournament to leave to go represent nationals was so tough. So the team that usually won, I mean, they were a pretty darn tough team. And those guys, there were no 215 average bowlers on those teams, let's put it that way. So they're pretty strong. And when you face those in the Open, you kind of knew where you get. And after I was in Ontario, I realized how strong they were, how sense of how that team was put together and how strong they had to be in order to leave that province. So when you face them in the Open again, in later years when I faced them in the Open, I knew where they're coming from because what they had to do in order to get to that level. So you kind of like, oh crap, we can get steamrolled here if we're not careful because these guys are that strong.
Absolutely.
But strangely enough, every time I played Southern Ontario after that, I expected the worst because it's such a powerful team. I always did well against them. I don't know why though. Just always did. Right? I don't remember ever getting steamrolled by Southern Ontario. I think we won more than I've ever lost against them. But that's my say, right? I don't have a record, so
We don't have the stats online.
I can say that. It can't be contested, right? Can't be contested.
That's right.
But after Ontario, I guess keeping on with the Open, was our final stop. Of course, went to Alberta, right? By this time, it was like 5 provinces now, and Alberta was cool. It was awesome. There's another kind of I would call it like a bowling superpower, right? There's a lot of bowlers. There's a lot of centers. There's a lot of, and outside of Ontario, going to Alberta was kind of refreshing because you finally see young people in the game. Up until then, I didn't get to see a lot of young people in the game like yourself, right? You just weren't there, right? It was an older sport, and it seemed like it was on its way out a bit. So it was really refreshing going to Ontario and coming to Manitoba, going to Alberta and seeing a lot of young people into the sport and getting into the leagues and being competitive, right? And of course, I happened to be fortunate enough to compete in the Open several times within Alberta and the Masters, which was another highlight. I love that part of my first experience of actually getting to play in the Masters because now that 235 average threshold in order to compete, I thought that was exceptional. And to be able to do that, so I really enjoyed that Masters program.
Yeah. You had. Go ahead, Gary.
No, I was gonna just ask about the Masters, but obviously there's a lot of Open history we want to kind of get through before I ask my Masters question. So go ahead, Tim.
No, I know you had a great mixed team when you went. I know Annette was on it, and I remember all that kind of stuff. But I think you guys got bronze that year in Sudbury. And then I know in 2008, that's when you won your national championship with, I thought it was a pretty great men's team, right? You had Johnny on it. Lynn was the coach. You had Bruce. You had Sean Heller, Brett Wren, Matt Schultz, right? That's a pretty good men's team. Oh
yeah, like it was exceptional, right? And I think with bowling, like the two highlights there, no disrespect me, the highlights there were bowling with Bruce and realizing how good Matt was, just unbelievable. That guy just jump on his shoulders and go. Once you start throwing strikes, there was no getting off it, right? So it's amazing to have guys like that on the team that were able to just throw. And I think that year, trying to think about this, I think that year when we won that Masters gold, we were losing. Like I think we going into the last day, I think we were down. We were in second or third place, and we had to. I think we threw 4 games maybe the last day, and I think we rolled really well. Like we were 7-1, 8-0, 6-2 kind of results, right? To come back and win that and finish first.
If I remember correctly, in that year for your Masters, you guys are down quite a bit, and I think you guys ran out the sheet basically. And that's when Dougie Mosdale almost got his only gold medal in Masters after all those years. you guys ended up beating him. And I remember that because Lynn told me that story about it all the time. So I think you guys went like 7s and 8s for the rest of the last 4 games in order to squeak out by like a handful of points. Like it was really close.
It came down to the last game. I think like it was neck and neck, and we were throwing really well. But like I said, with Bruce there, don't disrespect anyone else. Everyone played really, really well, but it was really nice to have those guys on the team. And when they're throwing, you just jump on for a ride, right? Because they're gonna carry you.
Who is all on that Masters team?
On the Masters team, I think it was Tom. Tom was on that team. Gary Baird was maybe. I know Wilton was on it. Perry was on it, and Johnny, I think, was on it. Yeah.
Pretty solid teams for sure.
Yeah.
Where was that? Where did that take place that year?
09 was Saskatoon, so I'm not sure where it was next
Gary
year.
says, yeah.
Sudbury. There you go.
Yeah.
Sudbury?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. But you mentioned earlier about the mixed team being in Sudbury, so I was a little bit confused on locations.
Yeah, both are in Sudbury. Yeah.
Well, both. It's just what luck.
Yeah, what's this one? What's Mike chirping about in 2007? He carried Perry 3 pins that year. Did you have some 3 pins, or did he have some 3 pins?
Oh yes. Mike and his 3 pins. That was fun for a while. Yeah.
I don't think I ever played with you on a team, Perry, but I think that we played, maybe I was men's and you were on a mixed, or I was on a mixed and you were on a men's or something in the zone, but I don't think we played in the same team together. Not that I remember.
Not the one to ask for memory like there, like you're not talking to like you're asking for memory.
Well, I got to make a list too, but
I've been on a few teams and a lot of people, so it's hard to recall exactly who was on what team unless it was significant to the point. Remember folks like that.
Well, clearly it wasn't for either one of us. We did it together.
But it seems like we have competed together. I just can't.
I feel like it was like I was men's and you were mixed, or you were men's and I was mixed, or something in one of those years, or maybe it was the years that I wasn't playing. But anyways, we were around. But
absolutely.
Yeah.
I like it.
I do remember though, like being a left-hander and being amazed in your sweeping ball that you'd have. And I think there was one tournament too. You even went on a tear. One of these nationals, Tim, you would know the stats. Like, didn't Perry go on a massive tear in one of these national tournaments? Like again,
I would have to look at.
Probably.
Remember that? Do you remember that, Perry? Like, I feel like there was one,
Probably,
or maybe it was in the provincials, or was it one of the events that it went? I mean, as much as you're talking about Bruce or Matt or whatnot, but I feel like there was a stat that you had at one of these was ridiculous as well.
I remember his when he went up through TPC that one year and at Collingwood, and I think he was in like the 4s or something like that at that point. I remember that. I remember lanes 1 and 2. You ripped a 3-pin in 11 against Bruce, and then you had to spare it in order to beat him, and you did. And I remember Bruce is like, "Oh, of course, it's Perry did that to me." Yeah, but I remember I was like, "Man, that was clutch." Like 3 pins, you had to pick a 3-pin spare in order to win, and you did that. It was against Bruce that day. Yeah.
If Mitch Davies is listening, this is the guy you need to talk to.
First, you got to throw left-handed. That's number 1.
Yeah. And hands down the smoothest left-handed bowler I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, without
For
question.
sure.
Take that, Jeff Young.
Infinitely better than Jeff.
Hey, we bowled with Adam Kemp this weekend, and he was pretty smooth too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the same.
I remember back in the day, like guys, when I first started bowling, like I remember back then, like 10-pin was huge, and Earl Anthony. I don't know, like guys, I'm maybe aging myself or not. He was a big 10-pin bowler back in the day. First guy ever won $1 million, and he was a left-hand thrower, but he didn't have one of those big looping hooks. It was a mild little hook right into the pocket, and he just annihilated everybody at competition, right? So
He had
kind of like
fresh
as a
oil
left.
all the time.
I'm sorry.
He always had fresh oil. That's the advantage for the lefties, right?
Just
You have
an
fresh
amazing-
oil.
Yeah, just an amazing thrower, right? And I grew up watching that guy, right? And being a left-hander myself, I don't know if I really looked at his style compared to mine, but I was thinking like, you're so smooth and so deliberate, and I tried to develop. Of course, we're all competitive bowlers, right? You have to, within the sport, you need to develop a style that's easy to repeat and simple, and you can do over and over and over again, and have good balance and have good rhythm and all those little things, right? So that when you get in those highly positions where you need to perform, you don't have to worry about your technique because it's sound, it's simple, it's repeatable, right? We all know that, right? I think that's kind of one of the thing about the sport, which I've seen over the years. I've seen a lot of folks trying to come up and trying to be competitive and playing in tournaments, but they just don't have good technique, they don't have good rhythm, don't have good balance, don't have a good style. It's hard to repeat when you're jerky jerky at the line all the time, right? So
Yeah.
they'll throw 1 or 2 games or 4 or 5 games, but to throw 10, it becomes difficult, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, Perry, you're talking about style and all that stuff. One thing you need to have is a great fashion style. And you might be one of the only bowlers I know, and maybe you can tell us the story. What's with the nameplates on the back of your shoes?
Oh,
Can
wow.
you develop
Yeah,
that
that's
story for us?
fascinating. Oh, you know what? That goes back to Nova Scotia, right? It was a Cynthia Schofield, God love her. So I think she probably, yeah, she kind of like started that, and she would order nameplates for everyone, and we put them on our shoes, and I just kind of kept with that. That was kind of cool. I liked it. I really appreciated that, and to have my name on shoes. I don't know if it was a big deal or not, but to me it was a big deal because where it came from and how it was initiated, right? So I thought that was pretty cool, and I'm still out there.
For sure, it's a talking point for when we first seen you at the Open and seeing you play in shoes with nameplates on the back. Everybody was talking about it. They're like, what's with the nameplates? And we're trying to get the story behind it. And it's neat to have these kind of podcasts where we can bring out the story that's neat that it originated from back home and stuff like that. That's cool. I like it.
Yeah, I came from Nova Scotia, Cynthia Schofield, but I wasn't big on. I should say that I wasn't big on wearing "I love me" jackets, right? I wasn't one to walk around with a jacket with "I was here, won this, and I'm champion of that, and here's that." I wasn't big on that right stuff, right? So the name on nameplates on the shoes may have been seen as being a little bit of a personality, but no, it wasn't meant to be that at all. It was just an insider thing with the Nova Scotia folks I used to bowl with.
That's really cool. I really like that. And yeah, there's nothing like super flashy about that. That's a bragging thing at all. Like, it's not like you're sitting there being like, hey, 2008 C5 champion on the back of your shoes, right? That's it. Yeah, I really like that. That's really
Actually, we should start that. That seems more legit.
No. No. No, I'm good. It was similar because we just had our Open this weekend, and you see everybody wearing their Open shirts from previous years, right? And then somebody came up and said, "Why aren't you wearing your Open shirt from the last year?" I was like, "Because I haven't made the team this year, right?" So I feel like that's the same kind of way, right? It's just not. I don't know. It's bad karma, bad juju. I always felt. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's our Don Sim statistician. It was 2007 when you went to the Nationals in the mixed team. So I was on the men's team that year. You were on the mixed. I think that's what it would have been.
Okay.
And you had a runaway tournament, I think, because you would have gone to Nationals. On the
What was
mixed
that,
team.
right?
Yeah.
Man, I wish I could recall this stuff. Like,
That's why we put it out there. We put it out there to our listeners, and somebody will come back to us, right?
yeah, no, that's good. That's great.
I do like the idea of the nameplates, though, for national champions. Shouldn't they get one? Or maybe just WCBT champs, hey? Tournament champs.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I like it. I had them and I wore
Classic.
them. Yeah, if I change shoes, I take the plates off and put them on a new pair of shoes. Yeah.
So where they go? Where they go? Did they go on your where you're on the back of
slider?
your shoe?
On the
Like
bottom
on the
of
back
the
heel.
Scene?
Yeah,
No,
on the
I've
bottom
never seen it. No.
Yeah.
Where are your shoes, Perry?
Oh,
It's right on the bottom of the sole.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
Oh.
just above the.
Is it
Where
like
the
a
slider
buckle?
would
Like, is
attach.
it a metal material like that you would screw into it?
yeah, it's a little brass kind of nameplate, right?
Oh, now we're getting corrected by Don. No, Gillam, you were on the men's team.
Oh, 08.
Heller.
08 won that year. I think Don's wrong. I'm going to call him on that.
Maybe a 2008 men's team.
2008 men's team. That would make sense. Yes.
Maybe I was there watching one year.
You were there watching. Yes, because I was at Riverside.
That's the year it was. Gotcha.
Yes, there you go.
That was 2008. That was 2008.
Yeah, 2008.
Yeah, but then Open All Stars in 07, it was.
Would have been the mixed team. Yeah.
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 Right.
Honestly, watching is almost the same thing as playing.
Watching's almost the same thing as playing. Yeah, almost. Yeah.
So
I think it came down with chance. Anyways, that's an after dark story.
So there's a whole bunch of other really neat things here. We'll talk about some bowling stuff first, and then we'll get to one thing I really want to talk about. But you threw a perfect game. When was your perfect game?
Oh, that's a good story. I think it was in 1998. It was St. Patrick's Day. It was on a Sunday. It was a 10-game qualifier for CBC. I think it was around the middle of my 10 games that I threw the 450. I had a big 3 in front of it, like a 360, 370. Then a 450, then another like 360, 370. So that was my one and only 450 in that qualifier. I think like my 3-game total, I think it was like 1155 or something. So I had a massive 3-game total and a 450 going on with the 10 games. And I can't remember what the 10-game total was. And I think because I try to remember what my I-10 games were. I think around 270, but somehow I think it had to be higher. To throw 1155 and it's 3 games to 10, I think 270 had to be higher. But yeah, that was kind of cool because I think that was the second time that I qualified to, because for CBC that was in Nova Scotia, just because you won a 10-game qualifier, and now you had to go and compete within Atlantic provinces, with the exception of Newfoundland. So Nova Scotia and PEI, we'd get together and in a house somewhere, alternate years, and then we can compete for the right to represent Atlantic Canada in CBC. And I believe it's the same thing for TSN. So that year had a really amazing year. Like I said, go along with what I just mentioned. I think I won the CBC, right, qualified for CBC that year. Went on television. And I think that's the second time I was on CBC. And when you go on these televised events, right, like TSN or CBC, it's almost like the first time is almost like you're putting in time. You just go there because you're so new to it. You're not used to the lights and the camera, and every ball is so amplified because everybody's watching you and it's televised. Even though it's taped, it's going to be aired later. You just didn't want to embarrass yourself. Just don't embarrass yourself.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're getting at. So the
Totally
first
get
time
it.
you go, you're just kind of like putting in time, collect $200, don't pass go, and then see you later, right? Because you're just not there, right? Because you're not competitive enough. Do you understand what I'm saying? Even though you're competitive, you can bowl, you're just not used to that environment.
Totally.
And so the more times you go back, I think the better I've gotten. And each time I went back, it's got that much better. And I think the last time I went back was in that time I mentioned with CBC, where I made it to the semifinals and I ended up playing Steve there, right? I think you guys spoke about that in your podcast a couple weeks back when Steve was on. And that was a good memory because I was listening to Steve talk about that. And we went to that tiebreaker game in the semifinal where we had, when you have a one-game match play, right, anything can happen, right? Anything can happen. I think we had a great game. I think it was quite a competitive game. It was
275s, yeah.
275, yeah. So it was a decent game. You go into it, and then after you tie, you go into a two-frame tiebreaker. Unfortunately, I missed and opened, and he didn't. So that's gave him he won the right to go ahead and play in the finals, right? So that was quite the year, actually. Very successful year for me. And I had that 450, and that same year I had the 450. I went to the Nationals in Nova Scotia on a mixed team, and they used to announce the winners of the 450 prize. What was that called? I think I think WestJet had a prize where you can fly anywhere in North America to WestJet flies. That was the grand prize in the draw for having a 450. So I went into the draw with 15 or 16 other 450s that year, and I happened to be sitting in the audience because it was drawn at the Open, and they drew my name, and I was there. So that was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
to go up on stage and accept that prize. So, and quite interesting about that though. Have a guess where we went? Anywhere in North America, WestJet flies. Have a guess where we went that year?
Edmonton.
Newfoundland.
Manitoba. We're back to my wife's from Manitoba, so we flew back to Brandon, Manitoba to use our free flights.
Yeah.
To be fair, that was probably the most expensive flight you could have booked with it, so it's not cheap to fly in Canada.
With young kids and a family, right, to fly, like, it was a big expense, right? And we didn't have the most money, right? So to use that trip to go to visit family, I was on the East Coast, so it wasn't like we needed to fly to Newfoundland.
Yeah.
We had to fly somewhere to enjoy a holiday with family, right?
Well, I think our previous podcast, Lloyd Weens mentioned that he had a perfect game and he flew from Saskatoon to Edmonton. Yeah. So
Crazy.
So I get you there for sure. Yeah.
Wow, that's definitely. At least I flew most part way across the country.
Yeah,
not a car ride.
Yeah, not a car ride. That's correct.
That's crazy. And for someone who says his memory isn't very good, you have a very vivid memory for certain things. That's
some
for
things
sure.
stand out. Yeah, some things just stand out, and some things are like, what? Did I do that? Yeah, I was there.
So did you play once on CBC and once on TSN, or did you play twice on both?
Twice on both.
Yeah.
Which was your favorite and why?
Whew. The CBC was more money. Obviously, you had more money at stake there. So if you went to CBC, you can actually guarantee coming home with money. TSN, not as much. So TSN paid by frame. So you win the frame, right? And it was a carryover. It's like golfing, right? Skins game kind of thing, right? It was the same thing within TSN. So they're totally different format. So I really enjoyed the CBC format because it seemed to be more like regular tournament format, or 1 versus 1, but you're playing for the game and not just frame by frame. Because we know frame by frame you can actually lose the game but still win by frames, right? So I think I liked the CBC format the better. There was more money. Obviously, first prize was $25,000, right? 27 or 25,000 for first prize, I believe it was. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It was 27 when you lost. Yeah.
27, yeah. So. Yeah, 1 game away from some decent money there. I think 1 game away from actually winning $10,000. I think if I remember.
10 grand was second place. Yeah.
Yeah. So a tiebreaker cost me $10,000. Not good. That's why I forget that stuff.
Yeah, I was like, how do you still sleep at night? Like that would haunt me forever.
Yeah, well, it did.
Yeah, fair.
It did. I got over it now. Yeah, so that was an expensive frame.
That's so much pressure though, but that's so much fun.
Yeah, it was huge, right? It was terrific. Because for one thing, you're on TV, you're become one of the elite in your sport, right? There's a lot of recognition going on with that, and opportunity to go do that. And like I said, the first time I went, you're just putting in time, and the more you go, you're getting more exposure. You get be able to cope in those pressure situations, and you're able to focus on you and your game and your technique, and not have to worry about the people and the cameras and the lights and all that stuff, right? So that's helps you elevate your level, right? So when I came to Alberta, I was that much better for it, right? When I went to Ontario, I was that much better for it, even though in Nova Scotia we didn't have the huge contingent for competitors, but it gave me the opportunity to go and compete at a national level, or even on CBC and TSN, which helped me elevate my game that much better.
Absolutely.
You had a good time, yeah, Steve? Yeah, I'm sure we did. Yeah, I'm sure we did. I'm sure you had a better time than I did, but
something else we want to touch on, and I think this is really cool. I'm not 100% sure what it all involves, but you were the Canadian Forces Athlete of the Year.
Ooh, no, I got to correct you that one there as runner-up. Athlete of the Year.
Oh.
So again, yeah. So what happened there was that was a pretty cool story too. So again, I was in Shearwater. I was doing a lot of bowling again. I was going to CBC. I was going to TSN. I was going to the Open. So I was making provincial teams, and beside that, I was making teams within the military. So I played on base basketball team, base bowling team, ball hockey. So all of these sports, like military was a 20-year sports scholarship for me. So I love playing sports, right? So ask my wife; she'll tell you all about that one. Just a sport, just a gym rat, right? I just loved it. So the fact that I was so successful, right, with going to CBC and going to TSN and having the 450 that year and going to the Open and playing at all the base level teams that put me in a good pretty good standing as a pretty favorable athlete. So when my name was put forward at a national level to be the Canadian Forces Man Athlete of the Year, unfortunately I lost. I lost to a Olympian, biathlete Olympian.
So that makes it a little bit easier to swallow, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was good. Someone believed in me. Someone saw what I was doing, and they recognized it, and they said, "Hey, you know what? Let's put you forward and for Male Athlete of the Year, just because of all the recognition I was getting and all the sort of things I was accomplishing, right? In the military and outside of the military."
That's really
awesome.
neat. That's
It's neat though within a community that you can be recognized that way, and there's a certain level of pride that within your own troop that you continue to move forward and move up, and within the group, like, hey man, good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a lot of fun.
If only we could have got bowling into the Olympics.
Yeah, really. And that was, that's a good story too, because back in that time, the same time frame, right? You remember curling? Curling and bowling were kind of like on the kind of same par, right? We had a TVC, we had TSN, we were televised. Curling was the same thing, got a couple big tournaments. But I believe, and some folks can correct me if I'm wrong here, but curling went out and they hired a company to sort of get them a major sponsor or promote the game, right? And they had some big breakthroughs at the time because they got into the Olympics, right? And that kind of put them over the top, right? And they went on to now you see curling as big as it is, right? And they got tons of tournaments. But C5 did the same thing. C5 did the same thing back then. They went out and had the same company try to raise and elevate the C5 game and try to capture a national sponsor. But unfortunately, they weren't successful. We did have some sponsors back in the day. I think we had, was it curling?
O'Keefe's, yeah.
Hiram Walker.
Iron Walker, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think
I wonder what a sponsorship package back then would have looked like. Right, was a certain amount of dollars and a certain amount of return. Like, I just wonder what the product offering would have been back then, and what would have been.
Aaron Walker used to sponsor. I think Aaron Walker used to sponsor one of the televised events.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly. I'm not sure now. I'm like thinking back. And Pepsi, I believe, used to sponsor. Pepsi used to sponsor some youth events.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I don't know if we have those sponsors today or any kind of other sponsors to do things like that, right? So I think that was the turning point for curling to take off, and bowling kind of didn't. It just kind of stayed and kept its course, right?
yeah.
I think the youth challenge, was it the youth challenge that was the Cokes or the Pepsis at one point?
Got coaxed into Pepsi's, yeah.
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 That was back in the 80s because I was, when I was bowling in the 80s at YBC and I was starting to get recognized in YBC Newfoundland, I was approached to go play in the Pepsi tournament, whatever that meant. And unfortunately, that wasn't because of where I lived. And I mean, I was just a young kid. Transportation was an issue for me and getting around, that sort of stuff, right? So I couldn't go into bigger center just to play in a tournament, even though I was invited, right? Aaron Walker, yeah, there you go. TSN and Master.
It would just be interesting to know what the package looked like though back then, and what the product offering and the return was for these sponsors. Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, I know there was money, and I heard back in the day they used to have some bottles. Like, you go in your hotel room when you check in, and there was the bottles there from each of the sponsors.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right. And they would get a nice little bottle of booze. Here you go.
Yeah.
Youth bowlers.
Yeah.
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 I wonder what the company was that was hired to go out and do that kind of stuff, and what that contract was kind of like too. Like, whether they got a cut back based on what they were able to accomplish with it or whatnot, and that would be interesting if we could find a hired gun to go out and try to find this for.
That's already in that space, though, right? Like this is what they do. Is they are a broker for sponsors. Right, and even for the social media or all the stuff that we do, like at what point in time do you get an agent, if you will, or a broker agent that's in that space of connecting you with sponsors, or you get into a certain level of pool, right?
Yeah.
The main thing that hinders 5-pin bowling is it's not international, right? So now you have to target Canadian sponsors that are willing to invest in Canadian sport, and I think that's the hardest part that we have in a 5-pin game, is to get like a Canadian Tire or a Tim Hortons. They're not interested. They're willing to put more money into an international sport because of the international
exposure.
Exposure, right?
You even see that with darts. I mean, we even see that with darts. I got some friends here, some amazing dart players. Are actually playing in the World Darts tournament here, coming up shortly. I mean, it's a world event. It's an international event, right? And then they get that exposure.
Yeah.
All right. So we need to get some money, and we just got to open a couple of bowling alleys in the States. Start there. Couple bowling alleys in Mexico, and slowly build that, and then we get it.
5-pin universe bowling alley.
I honestly I'm
by
sure.
then I was 70 years old and my arm had fallen off and I don't want to compete anymore.
Hey, but you know what? We throw a 5-pin center down in Arizona. We have so many snowbirds. It's gonna go down and it'll be different. It's a different game than what they have down there, and people will go to it. I'm sure if you put it in Vegas, people would go play it in Vegas because it's just something different. You just gotta have
Palm
one.
Springs. We could get Palm Springs bowling alley.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the humidity?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you're saying 5PU is the next AMF centers? I mean, that just makes sense. Yeah.
Maybe.
There we go.
For the next Bolero.
We just need some investors.
That's right. Perry, you have any investors?
No, I actually looked into when I used to live in Fort Saskatchewan. Looked into purchasing or building a bowling alley there, because at the time the proprietor was kind of getting out of bowling and there wasn't anything in Fort Saskatchewan. So me and a friend of mine were looking into what it would look like monetary wise in a business kind of plan for a bowling center there. But you know what came back? Why it fit? Why we couldn't move forward with it? Just have a guess. Just have a guess.
I remember it was the parking spaces.
Absolutely, yeah, it was the parking. I mean, you just couldn't put the parking in place for a number of people. It was too expensive to put a parking lot there to support. It's ridiculous. Simple little thing like that, like parking, because it's in a bylaw and you have to have so much parking to accommodate so many people, that and there's huge costs, right? Let's face it, bowling alley is a lot of space that's not used for people, right? So it killed the whole thing.
I remember talking to your buddy. I think it was Kevin Noble, right? And
it's good, yeah.
And I remember I think it was like 3 stalls, and that's all it was. It wasn't like it was like 10 or 20. It was 3 stalls that kiboshed the whole thing, right?
But, it was just too much. You just couldn't do it.
I think so many people have looked into it over the years too, right? And the opportunity, we all have dreams and fantasies of wanting to run a bowling alley or own a bowling alley, but yeah, when you get down to it, it's a big investment, man. And
it's huge.
Bless you guys that have done it, and we're glad that you have. But wow, it's an investment for sure.
The weird thing is though, Perry, is there's a bowling alley now in Fort Saskatchewan, and I think there's like 6 parking stalls.
Is that right? Well, I think it was the Field Store. I think I remember. I've been there. I've been to the lanes, but I think it used to be a big field store. It's almost like it's like Walmart, but those kind of stores, the Giant Tiger, those sort of things, right? And I think get left and they clean it out. And of course, it's perfect, right, for the bowling alley, because it's a big open space. Yeah. So I think that's what they did. What the person did there.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, I remember the old Fort Saskatchewan. It was the guy drank it under, right? I think his name was Jeff. Yeah.
Well, just not already a bowling proprietor, right? A businessman that wanted to make some money, but we're a little bit fussy, right? Our competitive bowlers are a little bit fussy. We're good for the sport. We're bad for the sport, right? We have it both ways, but
it's true though. Yeah, absolutely.
Tim, do you want to talk a little bit about the visualization?
For sure. So, anyways, I thoroughly credit you for this, Perry, for all the years that I've played. I don't know if I ever told you this, but you thoroughly helped me in my game, and I don't think I'd be at the level I was if it wasn't for you talking about visualization. So, about how you visualize. Like, I remember the one day you sat down with me with a dark lane. You said, just picture the dark lane with a white, white, like where your ball goes over, and just how you totally changed my kind of realization of bowling and how to think the game, right? And I kind of want you to allude to it, like how you thought of the game or how you visualized it, because it's so tough to talk to. Like, I don't know, it's not a lot of people saw it the same way you did.
Yeah, no, and that's a good topic there because,
Yeah.
well, I guess back up a little bit. I'm kind of one of those guys. I like to read about military. I like to read about leadership. I like to read some self-help books. So, and I don't know how I got onto this self-help book, but there's one book in particular we all heard about Tony Robbins, right? Anthony Robbins, right? He's a huge motivational speaker. He's got lots of books out, but one in particular that I was put onto is called Unlimited Power. In that book, there's a whole bunch of things you can do to for a whole bunch of different topics, whether you want to help you sleep or you want to, right? It doesn't matter. And one thing in there, he talks about changing your mental state. And what I mean by that is that, bowling is an up and down game. I mean, let's face it, right? 1 minute you're on cloud nine, next minute you're like, oh my God, like you throw 6 in a row and you punch 4 times. Like you're just a big barrage of emotions, like up and down. And so, in reading the book, I read some in there about sort of imagination or just visualization, as Tim was saying, and it help you at the game, and you want to be competitive because you need to be able to control your emotions and think, and when you're down, you have those down low points where you just can't seem to find your game and you're lost. There's techniques that you could bring it back. And there's one technique in this book that Tim was talking about where it's visualization, where if you're a spot bowler, or if you're bowled by the arrows or you're bowled by pins, however you do that, there's ways where you can visualize your target. And really what you're doing is that you're pulling the target closer to you, so you make it easier to hit, right? Instead of being way down the lane, 30 feet, you pull it right close to you and put it right here. And you blow it up, make it big, and give it lots of color and give it lots of, and make it big so you can't miss it. So what you're doing, you're changing your outlook on the game. So you change that visualization. So you remove that negativity of head pin or punching a 3 pin, right? In Mike's case. All right. So just change that whole visualization of the game, and when you're getting that competitive spirit and you get into these moments of high pressure, and especially if you have people on your team that are not used to that high pressure, they're not used to need to throw that strike or need to make that shot or need to click that pins off. We need to do that, right? Those are high pressure moments, and so their confidence may not be as high. So this is a really good technique to get your confidence back because it takes a target that you need to hit 30 feet down, puts it right in front of you, and makes it almost impossible for you to miss it. And if you visualize that and keep practicing that, it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. And I felt that was a very powerful tool to use for me, as well as teammates. I would try to educate them on using that tool because it's able to pull you out of a very negative environment after you punch the head pin or miss several times. That tend to do in 5-pin bowlers that we go from a very high to a very low very quickly. It's able to remove you from a negative environment or a low confident environment, put you in a high environment where you could be successful. Have you ever thrown a 300 game while you're mad? I mean, it just doesn't happen, right? Like you're pissed off at Trent, it's not time you bowl 300s and 350s, right? That's just
Gino has.
Yeah.
To that point, it's just about changing your mental state, right? And that book, if you want to be a highly competitive bowler and change the way you're meant, it's not technique anymore, guys, right? You have this style. You're able to throw 3s or 4s as well as you throw $150s and 180s, right? It's all about what's up here. And so, yeah, check out the book if you're interested. It's Anthony Robbins called what did I say it's called?
Unlimited Power.
Unlimited Power. Yeah, terrific book, excellent book. Highly recommend it.
It was crazy. Like it really helped me out. I also want to bring up the fact that you said the worst start in bowling is a double. Do you remember that? You always said the worst start in bowling is a double.
It is because it just creates you and puts you in a position of overconfidence.
Yeah.
You become overconfident, and you think, well, the game's easy. I'm just gonna walk up there and just throw it, right? Just throw a double, right? And put you in a position of just overconfidence. And how many of us have done that? We start the game with a double, and then it just goes right. It just goes wow.
Dex
Daryl
on
watched.
Saturday?
Yeah, Daryl watched me do it all day Saturday. I started with a doubles like 6 times, and I punched like 5 of the 6 times on.
Yeah. But at
on
least
the
you
third
started
one.
with a double, though. I kept saying you, fuck you, Dexter. At least you're starting with a double.
Yeah,
It doesn't get you a lot of score, right? If you start with a double and punch, it doesn't.
it's 75. Now you're back on 250 pace right away.
Yeah, right. You're not. It doesn't really set you up for a lot of success. Now you throw a double, maybe a corner pin. Obviously, you know has good scoring pins, right? But yeah, double
What-
three
what
pin.
about
Like,
double
yeah.
3-pin?
Might have seen 1 or 2 of those in the day, huh? Yeah. Nah, it was fun. Great bowling, Mike was
But
fun.
why is it? Why can't anybody get past a double? I mean, not anybody, but you know what I mean? It is the biggest hurdle. I think a double at any point in time is the hardest, Perry. Not just the beginning of the game. At any point in time, the double is the hardest. To get to that third one, right? Something triggers and something goes like, oh boy.
Yeah, well, there's got to be something you change, right? You change something within yourself. You change based on that double, whether you try harder or don't try as hard because you're becoming overconfident. But you change something. But don't get me wrong, though. Don't get me wrong. I mean, bowling is a hard game. I mean, how many frames have you thrown in a row where you hit that exact pocket perfectly every time? I mean, come on, seriously, right? We're all good at sport, but I mean, we can throw 8 or 9 in a row and hit 4 on one side and 4 on the other side, right? I mean, that's just good sport is. It's such a small room for error, right? And
This is exactly what I was going to say, Jeff. I think a big part of it is the fact that, synonymous with bowling is turkeys. It goes hand in hand, and nobody talks about the ham bone the way they talk about the turkey. Everyone's shooting for the turkey.
Hashtag ham bone. Let's go.
blame on it, yeah.
Yeah. Start talking about the ham bone more. Start ham bone draws at the lanes. It's your fault, the proprietors. You're the ones who are glamorizing the turkeys for the free turkey draws.
But that's exactly it. And honestly, I remember even back at the day in bowling school and Tom Patterson sitting there talking about, hey, there would be so many more 12 strikes in a row if you had to get 16 for a perfect game, right? But you're going for the perfect game. Now that 12th one gets really hard. That 12th one's pretty easy, or much easier, I should say, if you're shooting for 16 strikes in a row.
Start giving away 6-packs. 6-pack of 5-pin Bruniverse.
Yeah.
They only come in 4-packs, Daryl. Come on.
Oh, right.
But yeah, no, it totally makes sense. Soon as I throw a turkey now, it feels like I'm running with it instead of just out in no man's land sometimes. So yeah,
For me, I think my favorite is 7. Once you throw 7, then it's like, okay, let's go. Like this one's going to be really good, I feel like I can run with it after 7. Pretty easy. 7th is like the hardest one. I don't know why, but after 7,
You know what you're sounding like right now. Right?
And then 11 is real tough.
It's been a while since I've thrown 7 in a row, so please tell us how it feels.
Yeah.
Oh, I
7
don't
in
think
a
it
row
was
is
that
pretty
long
tough
ago.
to
You
get
just shot a
through.
380 in Sherwood Park. You're fine.
yeah, it's not bad.
4-bagger plow, 4-bagger, wasn't it?
I don't know. We'll look. That can't be right. That cannot be
Hashtag
right.
ham bone.
There's no way
Hashtag
that math works.
No.
Oh, I threw 4-bagger something 5-bagger this past weekend for 380. I'll figure it out. 383. There was no 7-baggers. I know that. Anyways, just going on what Perry was saying about the double, how many times this past weekend at the Open did you see guys, if they punch a couple times or have a few bad frames, they're sitting sulking, all of a sudden they throw a double and then they're around talking to people. Their whole mindset changes, right? And then sure enough they punch the next frame. Well, what the heck happened? Well, you changed everything. You're concentrating, you're digging in, and then all of a sudden you're freewheeling, and then it shut down on you again. Weird that your mind changed and your bowling changed again.
yeah.
So you're right back to the overconfidence, like Perry said in the beginning, right?
The only thing I think where a double is good is in the 10th frame, because you can either come back or save your game, or you have a double and all of a sudden it kind of gives you motivation for the next game. I can't. I think a double in 10 is probably the only good spot for it.
A double at any point is a good thing, people.
Yeah, we all want doubles. Yeah. Double, get anything. You need a double.
Yeah, the start of the game with double is good too. I guess you just need to recognize how important that double is and to utilize it and maximize it. Right? That's
Yeah.
And don't walk up there and thinking the game just got easy, just get it through a double and thinking that it's all going to go this way. If the game will take it and the game will give it. Such an emotional game, right? And talking about 7 in a row, I think the last year I was in CBC, I started the tournament on 7 in a row. So that was pretty cool. But then I went head pin, then a double with another. Oh, yeah. But I had a bad tournament.
A new tournament, race to 5, right? How many times would you get to 3 or 4 if you were racing to 5?
Yeah, that was the buckshot, right?
Yeah, well, something like that. Well, 5 strikes in a row, you'd get it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
how many doubles and triples would you get? You'd probably get them maybe more often. But once you need to get to 5, yeah. I like that. I like that strategy there, Perry. Well done.
Steve's absolutely right. This is the same thing here too. You get your 3 pins, you pick your sides, no problem. You get your chop off, all of a sudden that spare is really tough. You know?
I like how Steve is using the cherry.
Yeah.
I thought that was an Alberta thing, but
I did that a couple times. I would punch, I'd clean it all up, and then I'd get a chop off, and then I'd cherry it. And I'd be like, come on, man. It's another open.
Yeah.
Like, get me on a roll.
That's right.
Anyway.
So Perry, what was your favorite moment in bowling?
I have a couple, I think. Obviously, the YBC experience, my first one, being 13 years old and winning the national competition, and all that went with that, right? And being in center stage and having "We Are the Champions" song, that was incredible. And then coming back,
I just want to say that song, I looked it up, came out in 1977, so it was out for 3 years before that.
37, So it was pretty awesome. And then coming back at the whole, the parade and all that stuff that was with that, like that was a pretty
So cool.
special moment. That was pretty cool. The CBC experiences, TSM experience was pretty cool. And the year, I think that remarkable year I had there in 1999 with the 450 and all that stuff, that was a pretty awesome experience. The best league of bowling, I think I would tell you, is the Sherwood Park League that you guys run there. Because it kind of checks all boxes, right? It can check that competitive box, it checks that social box, lots of good people, and it's fair because you have the higher 250 kind of bowlers bowling against a 250 and you have the lower 210 205 bowlers bowling against those, so no one feels like they have to compete against someone that's out of their league, right? But you have such good people there that they weren't walking around and trying to put fists through walls or kicking stuff and doing that stuff, right?
Honestly,
no one's ever done that before in bowling, right? You don't have those. So that's by far the best league I've ever played in. One of the worst experiences I've had. It's kind of funny though, like because I was in Nova Scotia. We used to go to PEI every year for a tournament. There was a week-long tournament. I forget again the name of the tournament, and it was a pretty packed tournament. It was a pretty packed tournament. We always get 1 or 2 teams from Newfoundland. They're always very tough to beat because it wasn't like you had to qualify. You just handpicked a team. And again, like I said before, in Nova Scotia, we didn't have. It was tough to find 6 strong men, right? And that 250, 240 plus range to be competitive. But Newfoundland didn't have a problem with that. They bring guys like Bobby Osborne, past late great Bobby Osborne, Tony Redmond, those guys, right? They always Sean Wells comes to mind too as well, like just super smooth, great bowlers, right? Sharon Corcoran, look at that. So those guys were always loaded. They were tough to beat. But when I get to my point, we bowled one team down there, and every year was the same thing. It was always the same guys. After a while, you got to expect it. So you're up on the lane, and you're trying to throw a big shots because you're in a competitive moment. You're trying to win the game. And they would chirp at you, and they would whistle at you, and they would kind of tweet at you while you're up on the lane on the approach and about to throw your ball. So it's kind of like, we don't do that stuff in 5-pin bowling, right? That's not very good etiquette and sportsmanship along that stuff, right? But they had no problem doing that, which if you're not used to it, you take a little bit take a little bit back on that. But once you got used to it, and that's the way they were mean people. That was just the way it was, and they would chirp at you and they whistle at you and do all kinds of stuff to throw you off, which we're not used to.
Yeah,
That was probably one of the worst experiences, I think. Bowled a long time, right? I started at 9 years old, and I think it's been a few years now since I've been bowling. It's been a long time, so I've had a lot of good and a lot of bad experiences. Only a couple that stand out to be a little bit off.
It would be kind of neat just to run a fun tournament like that. Just no holds bar, have at her. Lane courtesy, not a thing. You can walk in front of people. You can fist bump and just see what happens.
But no contact yet. No contact.
No contact.
No
No
contact.
contact.
No
Yeah.
contact.
But
Just standing there right in their face.
Yeah.
Golf does that, right? I don't know if you guys play a lot of golf and play in golf tournaments. They play a tournament. It's a cash tournament in the evenings, and it's called the horse race. And what they do is you pair up with another player, and you go out and you take alternate shot. But while you're up there on the tee box, you're open. Like you're fair game. Like they'll yell and scream and call you wherever you want while you're trying to swing that club, right? And it's a lot of fun though, because there's usually a lot of alcohol involved. So, a lot of fun.
There's a beer.
You don't usually see it. Don't usually see it on the lanes where people are chirping at you and and whistling at you and things like that.
I think it'd be really entertaining, but apparently that's pretty heavily ingrained into like the candlepin world as well, though. Like you hear the candlepin side of the game is pretty ruthless, you know, and it's just kind of how it is. And like Bobby Kite and Freddie Toffelmeyer and those guys come over, and like 5-pin is very much it's a gentleman's game for the most part. I mean, yes, we have some people do some stupid shit sometimes, but for the most part, it is a gentleman's game, and we like to compete, but we like to have beers with each other after, and you just respect each other, and candlepin is just right in your face.
Yeah, there's no lane etiquette, right? There's no like the guy on the right or whatever up there. No, it just like just walk up in front of you. They'll stand in front of you. No, I don't think you mean to be rude by it. That's just the game. That's just the game. That's how they play it. That's how they learn to play, and they don't get too involved with distractions. We're a little bit finicky, right? We're a little bit finicky, and sometimes when it comes to
Well, it's a product of what you used to, right? I mean, if we were grown up having people be in our face, then we would probably be okay with that. But we're not. We're used to silence, and even this weekend at the Open, you know, like people just doing odd things at odd times is distracting. You know, I have no problem with people going up and like throwing a big shot and celebrating at the line or celebrating on the way back. But there's times where like, you know, I'm standing up on the approach ready to go, and I'm taking my first step, and the person beside me threw a strike, and he's already at the back of the approach, and he's celebrating back there at the top of his lungs. And I don't get it. Like the timing is just weird. It's just not what we're used to. So yeah, we're definitely finicky people at times. Yeah, for sure. But
and how many times would somebody back off from a head pin? If you see a head pin right next to you, you'd let them throw 3 balls. Right?
Some guys in competitive spirit, they go up and throw a head pin and stand back and let you watch it. And just throw it in your face and just, okay, go ahead. Here's the head pin. You see it. Monkey see, monkey do. Go ahead.
Yeah, your turn. Your turn. You got to go now.
Yeah, that's right. It's a little bit of a psychological game, right? I see that a lot in Ontario. Like, no disrespect to folks who are listening from Ontario, but I saw that a lot because a lot of heavy personalities, right, when I went to Ontario. And I wasn't used to that. Again, I would say no disrespect to anyone who's listening from Ontario, but wasn't used to that. But they have such, you know, to Ontario's benefit, like we came in from Nova Scotia. I mean, for every 250 bowler in Nova Scotia, there's 100, at least 100 in Ontario. You can, right? So the numbers are so powerful. So maybe you need to have a stronger spine or a stronger personality to compete there, right? Because there's so many strong bowlers. Predators there.
Yeah.
Lonnie.
One day we'll run a tournament like that, just because I think it'd be entertaining.
Any other big differences that you see between the provinces, Perry, with all your experience playing and everywhere?
I'm sorry, what was that, Eric?
Any other big differences that you would see from the provinces, playing in as many as you did, what was the biggest differences that you'd see?
I saw I don't know what the differences are all in the numbers, and the numbers was all about how many high level bowlers are on the numbers in each province. And some provinces like Nova Scotia had a very low number turnout, whereas you went to Ontario and there were so many, right, of just awesome big bowlers. And again, in Alberta, it's the same thing. There's so many of them, so many numbers. And if you're like me, that was really competitive and into bowling and loved bowling, that was like, I love that, right? I just love being in those big centers where there's a lot of big bowlers, and just because it gave you such a good opportunity to compete and to be part of really competitive, because that's what I was all about, right? I wasn't interested in league bowling towards the end, right? I had no interest in league bowling. I couldn't be bothered, but throw me into a master tournament or an open tournament, like I thrived in those conditions because that's what I wanted to do, right? And Ontario and Alberta gives you the opportunity to do that, right? So that's the big difference, is that the bigger centers, the bigger provinces, there's more opportunity to do things, more tournaments to be part of. Like you guys have grown the game, and to have the TPC, so the Western Canada, if you correct me, you guys have done a lot with having those extra tournaments there, right? You can join and be part of. Ontario has probably similar. They're so big, whereas the smaller centers, like even Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, PEI, they just don't have that, right? So that was the one thing I noticed was the big difference, was the lacking of opportunity to compete at a higher level within the smaller provinces compared to Alberta and Ontario.
Yeah, they're starting to work on those things. I mean, Ontario has their club tour. It's been limited, but there looks like they're potentially trying to run one in August this year, which is going to be great. Newfoundland has started their NBT, their Newfoundland bowling tour. It's like our WCBT on a bit of a smaller scale. It's all in St. John's, and it's a lower entry fee, but it's a good opportunity for those guys to go out and compete at a high level, higher pressure sort of situation too. So that they're working on trying to get those things built to try to create more competitive bowling across the country, which is awesome.
I think that's really good. As I mentioned before, like bowling, you got to have that grassroots program, which is so huge. But what you guys have done now with the use of social media is you've been able to televise these bigger events, right, at a lower cost, right? So, and that's, like I said before, our competitive bowlers, we're good for the sport. We could be bad for the sport, right? For proprietors, right? But I think it's really good is like most sports you see on TV, whether it's soccer, whether it's curling, but it doesn't matter what it is, right? They televise it. They get in your face. They want to see the competitors. They want to see the emotion. They want to see someone to speak on the behalf of the game. And I think you guys are doing that. I think that's where the elite bowling, the competitive bowling is coming in, because you can really raise the elevation of getting it out into people so they can see that, so they can go on to the net and watch a game. Because bowling, let's face it, right? Bowling is not the easiest game to watch. It's great to compete, but it's not the easiest game to watch. So to televise it, going back to the day of TSN and CBC and how they did that, right? And trying to televise it and trying to ensure that the spectator can see the score and what's going on and have a good commentary about that, right? That's huge to grow the game. I think that's what you guys are doing. I think you're doing a pretty good job with it, right? What I've seen so far, I mean, you guys are doing a great job. I mean, you've gone far beyond. I mean, the fact that you're saying Ontario and now in Newfoundland, obviously, you've got something going here, right? And the competitive bowlers can grow the game just as well as the grassroots game if it's done correctly, right? So I think you guys are doing a great job with that.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you.
Thanks. Sure. I'm not sure if you have to leave right now, Perry. It's around that time that we had kind of discussed before, but you're more than welcome to stay on. I think we're gonna kind of get into the open side of our discussion from this past weekend here. I guess, where do you guys want to start? We have some results. I tried finding all the results I could. Unfortunately, I do believe Saskatoon had their qualifying as well this past weekend, but I couldn't find their results.
Well, let's let Perry do his little recap and let him finish up. Anything, Perry, you want to recap for us, because you do have to go, and then we'll do this on.
Yeah, I think this is a good time for me. I think I was telling you about a little issue. I've got to and off to the hospital and get more treatments for.
Yeah.
So, no, but I really appreciate being invited and being part of the conversation, guys. So I really appreciate that. And it's great seeing you guys again.
Yes.
It definitely reminds me that when I get to Edmonton, I'm definitely going to stop in and see you guys at the lanes, and because I know you're there now because you get the ball and chain tied around your foot there, so you're. So
Pretty well.
I'll definitely commit to stopping and saying hi. Hopefully, have a beer with you. But it was terrific. Thank you for inviting me. It was an honor being here. And it was a great discussion. I loved going back over the years and just talking about all the things that I was able to experience. So thank you for having me do that.
Thank you very much for coming on,
Yeah,
Perry.
man. Good to see you.
Yeah, we miss having you around, man. It's great hearing from you.
All right, guys. Thanks very much.
Yeah,
Thanks, Perry.
All right.
Thanks,
Have a good
Perry.
night.
That was awesome. He's just such a good dude. And like I said earlier, he doesn't age. He looks exactly the same. I don't get it.
And
I
you're
don't
saying
get it.
everything so smooth, as a lefty, not that makes a difference, but he's just so smooth. Such a good bowler to play with, to watch.
Yeah, for the limited time he was here in the Edmonton region, stuff like that. He was playing out of North for a while too.
Yeah.
He made such an impact on not only the A5 Open and stuff like that, but the Masters. Obviously, I don't know how many years he competed in the Masters, but he went to nationals, won a title. Like,
Yeah.
Gentleman.
pretty remarkable.
Yeah, he didn't play all that long on here, but people still talk about him all the time because he just such a great personality, just such an awesome dude, a great teammate, and understands the game so well, and he's just so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Some open. There were lots of open qualifying on the weekend, I guess, guys?
Yeah, we had lots. Let's start out of province. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll start with the Regina ladies. We'll bring up there. So,
Crystal
from what I
Hibner,
see-
good to see her
yeah.
back.
Yeah,
playing.
Crystal crushed it. Averaged over 250 for the weekend. So what centers were they playing? They were playing
Glencairn
And then Northtown?
Northtown, yeah. Obviously, Glencairn was a little tougher scoring, I think, right? No big deal.
And is Jackie Treble? That's Jackie
Spark.
Spark. Yeah.
Spark. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Crystal,
And
Josie,
post lot. Yeah. Good.
yeah, Amy Fleming, she's on tour. Jessica,
Yeah.
Danny's sister. Jackie, Hannah. I don't recognize Hannah.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Maybe
And then
we'll
Simone
roll
Shepard, Sarah Ouellette, Danny's girlfriend, soon to be, and Elizabeth Demayak. Once again, a name I don't quite recognize out of Regina.
Yeah.
So congrats to all those ladies. Some phenomenal playing there. Like obviously, the second day at Northtown looked like it was a little bit easier. There's still wood, I do believe too.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. Glencairn isn't, but Northtown is, right? I think.
Glencairn synthetic, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and we'll bring up the guys here. Oh, it looks like some people are sending us the Saskatoon results, so we'll be able to grab those here shortly. Here's the Regina guys.
Huge
Mr.
scoring
Brad
for Mullins.
Mullins. Yeah.
Well, that's typical Brad, right?
Totally. Is.
Brian played unbelievable at Glencairn to 290 average, right?
That's awesome to see. Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Yeah,
good.
that's huge. 290.
He was huge. Yeah. Well, he faltered the second day, but how big was the 290 lead?
Super solid team that team is, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the guys are all solid there as well. And having an alternate Steve Peter, that's a great alternate to have
The
too.
mixed 3 are pretty solid too. Don and
Yeah.
Nelson and Danny
Very
for sure.
good. Very good.
We'll just go through the names in order just for our audio listeners. So it's Brad Mullins that took down the championship, Brian Askin, Taylor McCaw, Cale Stroh, Doug Clark, and John Mullins. So you have a brother combo on that team. And then for the mixed guys, you had Don Salmon, Nelson Frank, and Danny Bear. And once again, they mentioned Steve Peter as the
So
alternate.
Danny and Sarah playing together on the mixed team.
Correct.
Yeah. Hopefully it's a little better than the Infinite Escapes together, but
The Fish, Donnie Salmon, making mixed team. He just got squeezed out by Johnny at the end.
for an
It
old
looks
guy,
like-
he's so smooth.
You could have just said he's smooth.
No. Oh, come on. Yeah, he'll take it all good.
I tried to click that thinking that'd be a quick link for me, but it didn't work out. I'll try and grab the Saskatoon ones here. I'll put up the Calgary ones, and you guys can go through the list here while I do some Saskatoon searching here. I don't know if you can read those.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So for the ladies, we had Tracy Smith winning. Unreal.
Look at that finish.
She's
350.
still 350 to. Well, yeah, 350, 247 to finish. So 600 triple to
game
finish
19, yeah.
to win by 33. Jennifer Layden, Tracy Holsworth, Damara Halverson. Did I say that right? Stacy Weber and Anne-Marie Peterson for the ladies. It's a really solid ladies team.
Anne-Marie, 344, her last game.
To jump up, yeah.
Yeah, by a bunch.
Well, yeah, exactly. And honestly, to solidify her spot too. You know, she shoots 200 that game, then that's tight. So that's really clutch. Bev Magnus, Dina Ritchie, and Pam Wilson for the mixed for the ladies.
Very solid mixed team.
Yeah.
Mixed
Agreed.
ladies
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, and I'll bring up the next one here for you guys.
Derek home with the win. Miller had a hell of a second day. I know he was even off the team after day one.
Yeah, look at that second day. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Six.
5, 6 300s. Along with a 293, a 278. I mean, he started off bad, but his first two, but then he just went on a tear, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
370, 335, 276, 355, 338, 293, 310, 303. That 8-game set is insane.
Huge. Huge.
Yeah, he's saying he shot 2580 for his last 8, and he only gained 100 on Derek.
Wow.
Wow, he was. Yeah, Derek was solid too, obviously.
Crazy. Some great bowling.
Yeah, Derek didn't have a low game. His 10th game on Sunday was his low game. Huge scoring.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Mixed
then
team.
Yeah.
Yeah, continue, Tim.
Oh, we have Robbie Wolfson, Ian Howe, and Mike Herbert. So a little mixture of everything there. Obviously, really good, solid players there. Robbie's played
Ian
well
Howe.
all year. Yeah, Ian Howe
Ian
obviously
Howe,
played
big
really
TBC.
well. TPC and Mike Herbert. Ontario
Mike and
transplant. Mike and Bev are on a team. We'll see how that works out.
Good luck. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's great, though, yeah.
But a couple notables there that didn't make it. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Holdsworth
Yeah.
didn't make it.
Right.
Bobby.
Bobby Kite didn't
Bobby
make it.
Kite-
Holdsworth didn't make it. Rich
Bobby
Weber
hurt
didn't
himself,
make it.
yeah.
Kerry Snyder didn't make it.
Kaplan just retired again.
Yeah, he had a good
Yeah.
first day. Yeah.
Yeah. If people didn't know, Bobby Kite lost his heel apparently in game 12 and took a tumble there and might have injured himself. So hopefully
no.
he's fine and injury free. But obviously we don't have an update on that yet. But
Yeah,
we wish him
I
all
mean,
the
Too
best.
bad.
Hopefully the best. I mean, like, you look at it, he shot 170 in that game and then 195 to 206, which makes sense if he's hurt. But then he pulled it back together and threw some pretty decent games down the line there to bring him pretty close to making the team.
Yeah. All right. And then before we move on to our own zones, we do have the Saskatoon teams here. So we'll bring up the Saskatoon ladies. So we have Julie Bain coming away with the win there.
Yeah.
Just shy of 250 by 1 pin. Not too shabby. Literally 1 point. And then Brooklyn Barr.
Used to be from Edmonton.
Yeah, she played in Edmonton for a while, but I think she grew up in Saskatoon, didn't she?
She did.
She
yeah.
did, yeah.
She did.
Yeah, yeah. So did she come out here for schooling? She must have, right?
Right.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. And then you have Erin Gardner, Gracelyn Pizzi. Is that a Blair
That's-
Pizzi relation?
No, it's actually Sawatsky's daughter. Mark Sawatsky's daughter.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
There you go. Deanna Goring, Grace Larson, rounding out the ladies team. And then for the mixed team, you have Carolyn I'm gonna butcher that name. Bior, Raina Devane, and Taylor Miller.
Any issues? Please talk to Carrie about the pronunciation.
Yeah, we. Hey, my name gets butchered all the time. I'm allowed to do it to other people.
Well, you're
Gary
German.
Krutz. Gary Krutz.
And then for our men, Mr. Michael Wist comes home with the championship.
No.
He had a 415 in game 12 to get that.
Nice.
Did he not have a 400 the first day too? Or is that just me?
Don't believe so.
No,
I think
no.
it was just the second day.
It was the second day because he was doing it for Baby Mason.
Yeah.
Throwing 400 for Baby Mason, and he shot one in the second game. It was awesome. Yeah.
And then Regan Spruill, second. Kevin Rack, third. Tom Patterson comes back for a fourth position on the men's team. Lauren Krusch, Jacob. I'm sorry, I never remember how to pronounce Jacob's last name. I'll just skip it. You guys can see it on screen if you're watching live.
That's Jacob.
And then rounding out the mixed team, we have Kurt Hubbard, Adam Martin, and Gary Fair. And Jesse is the alternate Krusch. So I'm guessing
team there for men's team.
Yeah. So Lauren would probably be a younger brother to Jesse. Do we know that?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know, or dad maybe. I don't know.
Notable
And then
mention
there's-
Lloyd Weens, podcast guest.
Yeah,
Right?
you know what? Bowling off the opposite foot, right? And you know what? He was pretty close.
He had a 380 in his game 16.
Yeah, he wasn't. He was 60 pins away from making that team. Corey Downing, in there, and then another Krusch, Ethan.
Yeah.
They got a whole crew there. Oh, Lauren is the uncle.
Oh, okay. It must be a Ukrainian thing. Awesome. All right, so now we'll move on to... I know Cindy didn't want me to show it, but we'll move on to Central. Central ladies. Go ahead, guys.
All right. No, someone else could say Shauna's name.
Shauna Piri-Lesnay.
There we go. Perfect.
I
With the
always
championship.
screw it up.
Yeah, good for her.
Congratulations,
250, got over 5,000, right? Solid ladies team here with Jen Baker, Holly Warner, Andrea Levitt, Rhonda Barber, and then Emma Jean Oshtakov.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
And then mixed would be Donna Gervais, Robin Smith, and Cindy
Yeah.
made the team. So congratulations there.
Well done. Awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. Great playing. I know the Cindy and Peggy difference there came down to the 10th frame or maybe even the last ball. Oh, no, it was definitely 10th frame. Peggy
16th,
needed
yeah.
more than a mark, and she unfortunately punched for Cindy to take that last spot on the mixed team. So that's awesome for her rookie year.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so we have Gary Baird winning. He somehow he finds a way to make olds work. It's crazy. Good for him. Great shooting, averaging 266. Victor tried to make a push. He shot 900 for his last three in olds too, which is amazing. So congratulations, Victor. Only missing by 16 pins. Then Mr. Kerry Kreitz, he
made a team. He made a team.
He made a team. He not only made a team, he made the men's team, and not only did he make the men's team, he made the singles.
Big finish, Carey. 328, buddy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was huge. I was 34 pins behind Gino going into the last game. Needed a big start. Got lucky enough. I was playing with Sean Schwartz the last game. We ended up paired together.
Oh, and he was
So
318.
we pushed each other to get up there, and he needed that to make it the team that he got on to. So
yeah, it's awesome. And then Gino Zebarth, Brad Wilton, and Shelby Crest rounding out that men's team. It's a pretty phenomenal men's team there, buddy.
Yeah, powerhouse for sure, too. A lot of
Very
experience in that team.
Definitely
Looking
the team to
forward to
beat.
it.
Yeah, team to beat. I think.
okay, you say that every freaking time.
That's what Weber was trying to say, too. Like Weber.
All right, moving on. All right, so the mixed team. We've got Eric Chose, Justin Langrock, and Sean Schwartz.
Three really solid players.
Absolutely.
And good kudos to Schwartz. He's been playing really well all year, and I think he deserves making this team.
That's a good mixed team there, too.
He threw a good last game to sneak in there, too. Good for him.
Yeah, and nothing against Olds. Olds plays tough, right? So the scores, maybe the averages don't indicate how well they played. It was just tough scoring.
And you look at it, like, because in game one, from the start of the day, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there was a grand total of 6 300s for the mid in the first 9 games, and then there were 4 in the final game. So people clutched up pretty good in that final game. Pinfall just doesn't suddenly get better. So they threw a lot of really good shots in that final game to make teams.
Yeah, we kind of took a look at it. There was double the amount of 300s in Stettler compared to Olds. It was just a tougher scoring house.
Yeah.
Olds always is, and there's nothing wrong with that. It kind of brings out your players that are picking their wood up, picking their spares and stuff like that. So it was really good. I just want to point out how well Central did up their stats and how clean it looks when you put it on social media and all that stuff. Now we're going to go to Edmonton. This is a good old printout.
Hey, you know what? It must be nice you guys having a retired guy to do all the stats. So
Yeah.
You're right. 100% Central looks solid. Good for you, Craig.
well, maybe that's the only thing they're gonna look solid in. But
So here's Edmonton. So starting with the ladies, championship goes to Jenna Lamoureux. Congratulations to her, and she would have won by 23 pins with a 287 her last game over Heidi Mapstone.
Yeah.
And then Julia Robko, Katie Rayner, Michelle Hoyle, and Caitlin Ayub. Pretty solid team there for the ladies. Obviously, seeing Michelle, she just continues to make teams year after year after year. Heidi's so
misses.
solid too, playing huge. Great team here for sure. And then the mixed team is Brittany Lacusta with Danielle Dubois and Katie Hicks, who threw a 295 her last game to squeak in and get in there as well over Kaylee Mack and Sue Vandersloos, who are in the mix at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But pretty solid ladies there for both teams.
Yeah, it's there's nothing wrong with either of those teams by far. Like we always kind of say, going into these opens, you never know who's going to have good days or bad days. You might get not to say they're random, but to say somebody that's not always the most consistent player can get onto an open team, right? It's only 20 games. You never know, but all the ladies are pretty
solid.
Pretty solid.
Yeah.
You can't blame any of them in there.
Except for Rayner.
Yeah, well, Rayner. That's whatever.
And then the Edmonton men. Not sure who's holding us up, but we got a nice little shadow in the background. Unreal bowling here out of the Edmonton men, gotta say. But winning the championship is 57.04 was Tyler Titgat.
Last game.
Yeah, 294 his last game to get over Adam Weber by 9 pins. So he and Adam had a 284. So basically they were tied going into the last game, and they 294, 284. So Adam Weber, Tim Wiseman, Adam Kemp, Bradley Titgat, and Brett Wren. And then on the mixed team, we've got Cody Steer, Aaron Arndt, and Dexter Wiseman getting in there at the end. 15, 16 pins over Rylan Willier. So, I mean, guys, we can all, let's talk about right away is the day one at Bonnie Doon was absolutely ridiculous scoring by the Edmonton men that were out there. I mean, ladies too, but the Edmonton men, guys, blew it up. There was, after 3 games, the team was already formed. There was a few guys, outliers that came in, but 3, 4, 5 games. Adam Weber, his first 4 games, we're 14 and a half.
It was insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah, we were in Central. We were watching you guys post after each game, and after the first 4 games, we're like, "Well, are we watching for record breaks here?" Because Adam was on an unreal pace, and not to say he fell off. He still averaged unreal. It's just how do you keep up that pace is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, ended up 307 or something like that on.
Yeah,
so,
307 for 10.
It was big. It was. I mean, I think I was 275, and I was in 10th place.
Yeah.
Right. But
I want to say one super cool thing about the weekend is you look at the two winners. We have Tyler as our winner for the men and Jenna as our winner for the ladies. Both of them 2 years ago, the last time we had the Open, they were both their final years of YBC. They both made nationals for YBC. They lost that opportunity. They both made the Open in their first year eligible for it. They had that taken away from them, and they both come back and they both play super well and win the Edmonton Zone. That is, I don't know. I just think that's a really super cool story. Kudos for them for like overcoming that and coming back and playing as well as they did.
Yeah.
the future is bright. Lots of young kids.
Super happy. I think we had 55 tryout, and I think the three of us who played, I think 20 of them were under like 22. It was just absolutely crazy, and it was nice to see a bunch of young players out there. Obviously, St. Albert was. I was telling Carrie a little bit earlier. I think people played better at Bonnie Doon in general, regardless of the scores. But people didn't play very well at St. Albert. It was tougher scoring regardless. But nobody picked up spares. Nobody picked up anything. I think we've been fortunate enough to play in easier centers that a lot of people forgot how to play properly when it isn't so easy out there. I lost a lot of missed corners.
Like yours were probably a little bit tougher to play on too, right? It's tough to be super accurate at your spare picking when you can't trust your slide across the approach, right? That was kind of what was happening in our qualifying at Stettler. First, like 3 or 4 games, I couldn't tell you how many I seen people missing corners, missing chops. I was sliding across the approach. Everybody was sticking and turning a little bit, right? Till you adjusted to that slide speed or whatever the situation was. Then it got gradually better.
I wouldn't say it was...
Olds was good. The approaches were smooth. There was nothing wrong with the approaches. It was just tougher pinfall.
I wouldn't say that it was the approaches not so much at St. Albert. I think it was just the movement of the ball on the lanes. The ball moves so much on the wood lanes, and it would snap, and people couldn't hit their spots and couldn't make their marks, and it was really difficult. I mean, everybody hung in there and grinded and tried, but there was very little noise and excitement. There was a couple of moments of a couple of people trying, but it would be so deflated by a double punch or a double miss or a double miss open. Like there was never an opportunity where guys really got it going and had some big ones in there. There were plenty of opportunities in those mid-range guys to take off and to be able to set themselves straight. I mean, there was at one point in time maybe 8 spots locked up. There was 5 or 6 guys playing for 2 spots, really, 7 spots, I guess. But and Dex obviously hung in there on the end, getting 9th spot. I mean, you had a 145 or 150 in an 8th frame, and you throw a triple to put you in by 16, which was absolutely clutch, and that was the loudest you got. I remember throwing your second one in 11 or something like that. It was like, holy, what a relief for you, right?
Yeah, it was a grind. It's been the same thing I've had for a while, where it's just endless punches. I can't seem to find the side, but I was looking around a little, and I saw and that was another game. I had 5 punches in that game already at that point, and I was like, well, I gotta do something. And you look around, and Mark Popovich is on pace for 340. And I was up 114 on him, so I'm like, he bangs out, he beats me, and then Rylan was on the other side, and you were on the other side of me. And you guys are both fighting for it, and then I'm like, okay, so as soon as I see Mark, I think Mark missed in like the 8th frame or something. I was like, okay, I can get there if I want to. So I threw the first one, that was good. I threw the second one, that's what I got bumped up. The second one in 10 wasn't a great shot. It got out left and it came back in and carried the strike, and then punched in 12, sorry, which gave Rylan the opportunity to come back and throw it, and he throws the double in 10, and then he just needs a pin to catch me. He threw the first one in 10 and punched in the second one, unfortunately. So he played very well. He came down the line, and he brought some big games back too.
I couldn't hit the middle. That was my fault at the end of the day. Honestly, guys, it was just missing the middle lesson. I tried and tried and tried and felt like I would have it, and then also just would miss. And I mean, total lesson, and didn't get over mad or anything. It is what it is. But yeah, just simply missing the middle. I look at my stat. I would have missed the middle 30 times on Sunday, and it's just not. I just couldn't hit the middle.
Yeah.
It was just not good.
Sunday was weird for me, and only because, to be honest with you, I was following Curtis and I was following Brad, but other than that, I was not around anybody the whole weekend. I was like on the leaderboard. I kind of just was off my own man's land. I could see everybody else doing well down, like, a couple sets down there, and it probably worked out well for me because there was no pressure. I was just bowling, right? I didn't see anybody have big scores, didn't see anybody have low scores. I just kind of bowled, right? But I think it'll be a good weekend, and like I said, I appreciate Daryl for all his hard work on the weekend. It helped us all out immensely.
Absolutely.
And I don't know about you. I think for any of you who don't know, Dad is actually coaching Dexter's team. Yeah. So this is the first time Dad's actually coached Dexter or me ever. Poor guy's a rookie. I mean, he'll have his own handful with that. But
I've called him bitch all week already.
So.
Nice.
So it's kind of nice that way, right? So he's there, and it'd be good. So it'd be a good weekend.
That's fine. I mean, you look at the team though, and you look at it like who would you not be on there, right? I mean, you look at the Central men's team. That's a pretty strong team. Sure, you could have maybe an Eric or something in there, but that's the team that you pick at the beginning of the day. When we're looking at Edmonton zone, again, no disrespect, but there's 11, 12, 13 people that are making it. And guess what? The 9 that made it were 9 out of the 12. So of course there was going to be 2 or 3 people who didn't make it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it is what it is, right?
It was kind of the first year. Usually you have the top 12 guys, top 13 were all like in order. Like there's usually a couple guys that you're like, okay, I didn't expect that, or hey, they can play, but they just had a really good day, and it wasn't like that this year. It was kind of a little bit different than normal, right?
Definitely tough playing Bonnie Doon first because the scores were so high. To try to chase those scores and those high numbers. I mean, there was, like I said, 6 guys that already had a spot locked up. You could go out and through 220 or 230 on Sunday, and you weren't going to do it because you're just not going to. You're going to, at the worst case, you're going to shoot a 240, 245. Right, those guys. So the spots were already locked up. So I mean, there was 30 guys looking at 2 spots, 3 spots before the day even started. Yeah. Right. And you knew there was going to be one that came from behind that made it, and that was Aaron Arndt. And he just kept grinding and working and working and working, even until the last game. Started off with a triple and got the energy going, and he was then running. Right. Where the other guys were just doing what they were doing all day long by missing or by pugging or by opening, and it was just, you knew it was going to be a guy. So. It was tough. If we're doing that again, we got to do Bonnie Doon on a Sunday because the fireworks would be electric. Right?
Daryl, I'm going to let you know there's no center out there that's going to be taken to Saturday other than Bonnie Doon. So.
Oh, wow. we got to sweet talk somebody else then. That's crazy because it's huge.
You know what?
It's huge. The tournament's already done, right? Like
for the people outside of the Edmonton zone watching it, I totally agree with you, Daryl. There was no real fireworks. We were kind of watching Aaron was kind of the watch, right? Because we seen him climbing, but up top, like we were watching to see if Adam was going to be able to hold on because Tyler was battling with him and Tim was kind of up there in a little bit. But really, there wasn't a lot of watch in the middle of the field because for prime example, Bonnie Doon set the pace that it was going to be almost near impossible to catch those players. Yeah. So it really sucks for that side of it. For the competition side of it, when you're in it, maybe it was pretty exciting. I don't know, but outside of it was
it's tough. Like, I find there's, like, for me personally, I find there's a lot more pressure on playing Bonnie Doon than playing the other house. And the only reason why I say that is if you don't score, right? If you don't play, your weekend's over. Right?
Why play day 2 then? Just play day 1.
There is pressure. 100% there's pressure.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, absolutely. Your pressure is, again, to keep pace. And I'm 275 and I'm in 10th place.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And I know I'm not going to go and be 300 pins better than Adam Weber at St. Albert.
No.
right?
That's why, like, maybe playing Bonnie Doon twice might have been the play, because you know that the scoring differential is just so astronomical. Playing Bonnie Doon twice makes both days, oh my god, I gotta hang on. I can't slip, right? Because somebody could average 307 and catch me. Now I gotta play well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
And it is what it is. I'm not sitting here complaining. I'm super happy for everybody who made the team, and at the end of the day is I didn't execute, so I'm not worried. But I just think it'd be cool to see
totally
this Bonnie Doon on a Sunday, right? Because there's a more opportunity for changing and advancement, and a guy who's 17th or 18th, or even 5 guys that are all 13 to 18, they're going to climb together, right? Let's go.
Yeah.
Right? And a guy may not sustain the 300 average or the 295. Somebody else is going to come do that.
Yeah.
And if he does, then kudos to him.
The best analogy is watching like the PGA Tour when they play like a three course tournament or whatever, right? You know, there's one course that if you don't hit that course on the best day, like the non-windy day, and score well, you're pretty much out of the tournament, because the other 2 courses are ridiculously tough, right? So it's kind of that mentality where you go to Bonnie Doon the first day, like Tim said, it's super high pressure, because if you don't perform, good luck, right?
No different in Masters, right? I feel the same way when I go there. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Because there was
100%.
one guy on Sunday that made it, right?
Yeah.
There was
Provincials are going to be great, though.
Provincials will be.
That's going to be your fireworks, man. Right?
It is going to be
ridiculous.
fireworks. It's going to be awesome. There's so many good teams coming. I mean, you know, the ladies division's got 4 or 5 solid teams. Mixed has a handful, right? The men's team, no, you can't count anybody up. We know that the northern guys too are solid. We didn't put up their scores, but we know that they're going to come and fight and going to work and going to.
And South can do that
after
too.
It. So South too, right?
South will have a lot of shots. That's for sure.
Edmonton, let's be honest, has the odds. They're the favorite. Edmonton's got a stacked team.
Central's.
Right? Edmonton's got a stacked team. Tim, don't be silly. Don't pull a Weber and be in Central's the best.
He does it every time, Daryl. Don't worry about it.
He already
They try to talk himself down, but I'm here to tell you that the Edmonton is number 1 odds-on favorite. Central number 2.
Your home zone. Your home house.
Yeah. Central number 2. Calgary number 3. Right. Then you probably North and South that are similar odds, but. It's not by far, Tim. Not by far, but the favorite is. Let's get Mitch to set the odds.
I really think, different in 2017 we went up GP and GP was super tough. It narrowed the field. I think when you play a center like this and everybody's playing together, it's going to narrow the field too, right? Where the weaker teams and the good teams are all going to be the same, I think, and I think that's going to be a great event for everybody to watch. Because I think
it's going to be stream fireworks. Get some commentary. Something to do in the background.
Somebody can shoot 380. Somebody can shoot 400. We just never know, right? So
you're going to see that. You're going to see somebody lose with a 380.
Yeah.
Almost guaranteed. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome.
Maybe not on the mixed team, Dex. Maybe not on the mixed team, but on the men's team, yes.
Dexter's mixed team is by far the favorite. Right?
I don't. There's some
Calgary.
good mixed teams out there. There's some good mixed teams out there. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think Cindy play Dexter? I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. No,
there is.
I know
she.
You
know what?
She's already
okay.
She's already shitting her bricks right now over if she plays Dex. Yeah.
But you got Eric and
is she going to play first or last?
Right? Like
she'll play wherever you play, Dex. She'll play wherever you play.
Match up.
I like it.
I think she has. I think she'll do it. I think she'll whoop your ass. So it's okay. No big deal, Dex.
No, that'd be fun. That would be fun.
Yeah.
I would enjoy that.
Okay.
We want to banter about other zones and
I beat
provinces too. So if anybody else has any other stats or any things that they want us to chirp at, and yes, we want to see Dexter and Mitch at nationals. So Mitch made the mixed team in his zone. Is that what I hear?
Oh yeah. He made the mixed team. Yeah.
Who made the men's team that he didn't make it?
Oh, he just didn't play well.
Some better players.
Yeah.
Be better, Mitch. Be better. Right.
That's right. When I miss my teams, there's just better players than me.
Yeah.
Manitoba straight to provincials. We see that. Yeah.
They're pay to play. in Manitoba. Maybe
Yeah, that's
maybe
interesting.
Ontario soon. We'll see. Let's move on to our All-Star draw. Thanks everybody for joining us and signing up for the draw. There's 25 entries. Good luck to all.
If anybody wants to live stream a colonoscopy with me, I'll do that.
Oh man,
Ow. Oh,
Whatever.
get
No.
out of here!
No,
Like
we don't.
Like he's gonna use bowling balls.
Team captain of the odds-on favorite for the Edmonton Open
Hey.
for their provincials
I,
this year.
so, talking about 5P Universe and the Open, I do want to bring up every Dream Crusher made the team. I don't know about the Bombers, but every Dream Crusher made the team.
No, we didn't make it.
Okay, I just want to point that out.
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
No, just kidding.
Well, all that played, Tim, except for one.
What?
I'm the token 5-pin universe member who didn't make it either.
Tim, all that played from the Bombers played the Open made it except for one.
Aaron, yeah. But I mean, I was going to say, because Cummings not playing.
What is he?
What are you talking about? Heidi made it. Danielle made it. Aaron made it.
Oh, yeah.
Who didn't make it that played?
Oh, I
For
feel
DB. Right?
Johnny
So-
didn't make it.
I wanted
He
Dexter
didn't
to make
play.
it, though. Dexter's a better fit for that team than I would have been in ninth place, so I'm happy for him. I'm team
No,
manager.
Daryl,
I'm
I
team
was only-
manager of Edmonton, and we're gonna. Team Green is gonna go and sweep, and then I'll get to go to nationals. It'll be fine.
There you
Do
go.
you know what? I
Sounds
put my
good.
foot. I'll say I put my foot in my mouth. I thought everybody else played. So I mean, I take that back, Daryl. I apologize.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I was like, what are you talking Matt
I'll-
didn't play this year because Danny played.
And then
Yeah.
Johnny didn't
Steve
play.
didn't play?
Steve didn't play. I was like, oh, they must all play. No. Okay, well, I put my foot in my mouth on
in all-
national
yeah.
television.
Yeah, and Danny did play, and Danny didn't make it.
Yeah.
Danny Clapp played, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Just
right.
so you know.
Our
So now
coach
you're
played.
wrong again.
Okay.
Worst chirp ever.
That's what he tries to do. He tries to make stuff up, and that never works out for him. We love you, Timmy. We love you. Well, I think we're going to wrap this one up here, guys. We do have Team Pro League this Sunday. It is an afternoon session, so it is noon till 3 o'clock. So tune in. I think we have some Regina Infinite Escapes playing. We have Timmins, T-Bay, and Paradise Marvel. So it should be some good matches.
Yeah.
Alrighty. We'll check y'all later.
Thanks,
And
everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
James, video.